And man, we're excited. We're fired up for this game. We have a ton of Jaguars fans coming. All of a sudden, everyone wants tickets to this game. They weren't calling 2 weeks ago. Now they're calling. So this is, at least from Jacksonville's viewpoint, this is a very big game and a very true test of where this Jaguars team is right now.
Which was a great interview. If you guys didn't get a chance to catch yesterday's episode, Gail Saunders from 4th and John, Austin Lane, the former Jaguars, current UFC fighter, was also on. And right now, we're going to get our finger on the pulse with Jaguars.com. Ashlyn Sullivan joining the show, making the Football Playbook debut. Good morning, Ashlyn. How are you?
Good morning. Sorry about being late. We're in a bit of a frenzy with this hurricane coming. It's a little frantic, but we're good.
I get it. And that's where I wanted to start off, because this hurricane Ian is making its way towards Florida. Are you guys in safe confines? Is this going to impact the practice routine? What's happening down there in Florida?
Yeah, not going to lie, it's a little eerie here in Jacksonville this morning. We're definitely already feeling the effects, and it hasn't even hit the West Coast yet. So this is a huge storm that is going to impact this week. Head coach Doug Pederson isn't really changing the plan, and I think that speaks to kind of his calm demeanor. The Jaguars will stay downtown. The real concern is if the bridge is closed, what happens? So I believe that they might keep the players and coaches in hotels downtown just to keep them close to the stadium. There was talks of maybe going up to Atlanta or going up to Philly early to get away from this storm, but head coach Doug Pederson believes in keeping the routine the same as much as possible. So they're going to stay here in Jacksonville. They're going to practice all normal. No times have changed, and ride it out. And everything we're hearing is we will travel like normal to Philly on Saturday.
We're hoping for the best, Ashlyn, and we really appreciate you taking the time in the middle of a storm. I know Tampa, I believe, moved opposite to Miami coast. I saw online there was tornadoes between Naples and Miami happening, and Key West already flooding. So it doesn't look great on the satellite. We're hoping for the best. One thing that has been good is the Jacksonville Jaguars' success. And, we had Austin Lane on yesterday, and we talked about how ahead of schedule that they are. I know you were with the team, I believe, last year covering the team and had a very successful podcast, and we'll get into that. But you saw the coaching regime from a year ago, and then this new regime under Doug Pederson. Obviously, something is working. Something different is happening. What have you observed and noticed being around the team every day?
Yeah, it's totally different. It is night and day from where it was a year ago. And truthfully, when head coach Doug Pederson was brought in here, I thought there would almost be a point of healing, to say it for lack of a better term. Just with everything that the Jaguars went through last year, I knew that Coach Pederson came in with a long list of accomplishments on his resume, and we all knew this is the right guy. With that said, like Austin said yesterday, we thought, this might take some time. This might be a bit of a rebuilding year as the Jaguars earn trust back and they get a coaching staff that they can build around. We're all a little surprised of how quick this is going, and that's all credit to Coach Pederson. He's doing a great job of scheming guys open, of the playmakers they do have, using them to their advantage. The Jaguars are winning right now because of coaching. They are winning right now because they are out coaching other teams. Yes, it's a better roster. Quarterback Trevor Lawrence is playing better, but it all goes back to Coach Pederson. He's putting these guys in position to succeed, and we couldn't have said that a year ago.
Hey, coaching matters, and look at all the new pieces they brought in. Christian Kirk, they brought in Zay Jones, Travis Etienne's like getting another first-round player back. All these guys weren't even incorporated into the offense, so they're clicking on high cylinders. I want to get into that in a little while. I know we only have so much time with you, but just to follow up on Doug, because here in Philadelphia, as you can imagine, it's brought up quite often about Doug Pederson returning to Philadelphia. What has been the media storm or the media line of questioning down in Jacksonville? Has it been a frequent topic of conversation?
I wouldn't say it's frequent. He did get asked about it on Monday. So I think this week, if the Jaguars weren't playing as well as they are, I think that might be more of a story as Doug Pederson's grand return. But really, I think the reporters and the fans, want to know more about this team and how the Jaguars will fare against the Eagles. I mean, this game all of a sudden is incredibly more fascinating than it was a month ago. We thought going to Philly, all right, this is a good Eagles team, but we didn't think the Eagles were going to be as good as they are either. I hear fans clamoring that they want this flex to Sunday Night Football all of a sudden. So that's really the topic this week. But Coach Pederson did mention on Monday, we were laughing on whether he's going to get booed, Is there going to be claps? Is there going to be both combined? And Coach Pederson, you could tell he doesn't care about it. He's like, I got booed when I was a coach there. So yeah, I'll probably get booed as being the opposing coach. You can just tell how much Philly means to him. He laughs and he smiles when asked about it. And you can just tell, how close to home that really is to him and how he still has a ton of family and friends there. He said he expects a ton of friends to come to this game on Sunday. So I think the players are really rallying around him and they want nothing more than to get a win for Doug in Philly. I think that's definitely a driving force, but I don't really think this team needs extra motivation either.
Well, Ashlyn, I can tell you this, the Boo Birds travel well. They were down in D.C. and gave Carson Wentz the business last week, but I can tell you from the media that we've had on this show and also the fans in the chat room throughout the week, I'm going to guess that Doug Pederson gets a standing ovation. That sounds
that's awesome.
Yeah, it sounds like he's going to get the respect that he deserves.
That's great.
Just like Philadelphia means a lot to him, he means a lot to the city.
Right.
And that doesn't go unrecognized by the fans. So I think he's going to get a ravishing standing ovation.
That's very cool. I hope so. I think he deserves it. And I know, from when he talks about Philly, you can tell that would mean a lot to him.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be tough for him emotionally out of the gate because so many memories are gonna come back. But he's creating new memories, and you said the coaching has really taken this team to new heights, especially on the offense. And I listened to the Eagles coaches talked about watching Trevor Lawrence on film and how much his game has sped up and how he's just operating and processing at a faster pace. Obviously playing at a high level. What have you noticed from the development of Trevor Lawrence? He's kind of put himself into maybe a top 10 quarterback in the league category.
Yeah, and it goes back to week 1 when the Jaguars lost in a very close game to the Washington Commanders, and Trevor didn't play his best game. We were at the point where we were asking ourselves, we kept talking about the jump that Trevor was going to make in year 2, and we kept comparing it to a Herbert or a Mahomes. We're like, okay, this is obvious. Trevor's going to make that jump. Then we started asking ourselves, why are we comparing Trevor to these quarterbacks? Maybe he's not on the same level. And then funny enough, he must have heard us because week 2 and week 3, he is on that level. He is taking that jump. He's getting the ball out way faster. And I think that's the biggest improvement I've seen since week 1. The Jaguars quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, the offensive line, they haven't given up a sack in 2 weeks. Wow. I see the decision-making much quicker for Trevor. I think, again, that's a credit to the coaching staff to scheme up plays that are open quicker for Trevor. But now I'm at the point where, Trevor can make that jump. And I never think there was a doubt that he wasn't going to be the franchise quarterback here, but we all knew he had to play better this year. He led the league in interceptions last year. He's only thrown 1 so far this year. So, it's a huge improvement. And the Jaguars needed that to be relevant, right? They needed Trevor Lawrence to play better.
Yeah, and, I didn't realize they hadn't allowed a sack in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
The Eagles had 9 last week, so that'll be
it's a good matchup. Yeah, it makes it even more interesting, right?
That's going to be fun to watch. Yeah, absolutely. Ashlyn Sullivan, Jaguars.com, who does a great job, of course, has a podcast over there as well. How about this backfield, though? Because Trevor Lawrence is playing at a high level. It helps when you have this 1-2 punch of a James Robinson, who's kind of a between-the-tackles bruiser running style, and then you have Travis Etienne, who's more of a slasher. He could catch the ball. He can be moved around, do a lot of different things. This is one of the better 1-2 running back tandems around the league, I believe.
Oh, yeah, it absolutely is. And we're seeing a huge success for James Robinson. We talk about, if it's not Trevor as the biggest success story so far in Jacksonville, it's James Robinson coming off that torn Achilles just 9 months ago and rushing for a 50-yard touchdown last week. That was so cool for everyone to see for James because we all know how hard he worked to get back on the field. And I think it's interesting. We're so used in Jacksonville to the offense being a true running style first offense. And I think we're figuring out with Doug Pederson that that's not what this offense is going to be. It's going to be a complement to the passing game, this running back group, but it's not going to be the one all be all. And I think we're really used in Jacksonville to hanging our hats on the running backs being successful. So I think that helps James Robinson even more so when you have a passing game that can really complement. That's the buzzword always. And when you talk to any offensive guy is complement each other. And I think we're really seeing that these first 3 weeks.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of similarities to the way Doug Pederson constructed his team in Philadelphia, doing a lot of that in Jacksonville. And Ashlyn Sullivan's been so kind enough to join us here in the middle of hurricane season to talk about it. Let's switch it up to the defensive side because you guys have added some blue chippers in the draft. You've done pretty well adding some impact players. There was a little controversy, or people talked about the Trayvon Walker selection 2 years ago, and then this Devin Lloyd is like shot out of a cannon. I think he had 14 tackles last week and has suddenly made himself an impact player on this defense as well.
Oh, yeah. Trayvon Walker and Devin Lloyd, we talk about, are way ahead of schedule of where we expected them to be. We knew they were first-round draft picks. We knew they were going to be starters, and we knew they would be impactful players, but they're progressing way quicker than we expected, especially for Trayvon Walker. He was the star of that Washington Commanders week 1, all over the stat sheet. And then Devin Lloyd comes week 2 and week 3, and he says, don't forget about me. So I think this defensive draft especially is going to really help the Jaguars. I think it gives them more options. It takes the pressure off Josh Allen, especially as well. Last year, it was only Josh Allen, so he would get double teamed almost every single play. Now we're seeing Josh Allen has the potential to be a great player as well this year. So it was clear what the Jaguars' needs were. General Manager Trent Baalke knew that. He went after it, and now we're seeing the success of that.
Yeah, they're getting back towards that Saxonville days where they had a lot of success getting after the quarterback. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not watching every single play of the Jacksonville Jaguars, but it looks like Trayvon Walker is kind of being moved around, inside, outside. Are they standing him up? Is he more hand in the dirt? Like what kind of role are we going to see him more on one side, or are they moving him around a lot?
His main role is to be opposite Josh Allen as a true outside linebacker. That's primarily where you'll see him, and that's where it's funny. We were talking about the Trayvon Walker effect, outside linebackers. Coach Bill Shuey calls it. Is we were going to ask, now that Trayvon Walker's on tape and teams have to plan for him, when will we start seeing the shift where the offensive linemen go to Trayvon's side instead of Josh Allen's side? And sure enough, we saw that week 3. We already saw the impact of just Trayvon Walker just being on the field. You have to account for him. So that's what I was talking about, where Josh Allen is now freed up. They move him around a little bit, but I don't want to call it a knock on Trayvon out of the draft, but he didn't really have one sole position at Georgia. And that was something he was really looking forward to, is he just wanted to have one job and really succeed at it. That Georgia defense might be all-time college football. So they didn't have to put him at one spot. But I think here with the Jaguars, you can expect him to stay in that outside linebacker role, and he just wants to get the reps as much as possible there.
Yeah, it's a different role than what he played at Georgia, but kudos to Jacksonville for identifying the traits and having a role designated, because I remember a guy like Isaiah Simmons coming out of Clemson. I think he went to the Cardinals. They said, he could play so many different positions. He's so good. And then they didn't really have a game plan for him. They didn't have a specific role, and he kind of got lost in the mix. So, again, back to the coaching, right? Hey, we have a role. We've identified those traits. And one last guy I want to ask you about, because I covered him extensively coming out of college, is Andre Cisco. This guy is all rocked up, jacked up, and he's healthy, and he's making plays from what I've seen in the box score, at least.
Yes, he is one of our favorites. I'm such an easy guy to root for. And especially last year, this was a guy that was really fighting for playing time. And we go back to that old coaching staff where I don't know if they didn't see the potential in him or what, but we were always so confused because we always thought Andre Cisco is one of your best players on defense. Why isn't he on the field more? Well, sure enough, now he's on the field almost every single play, and we're seeing him progress. And like a rookie in any sport, he just needed the reps. And I think we're seeing every game, the game slows down for him a little bit more. Very similar to cornerback Tyson Campbell. You're seeing every single week they get a little more comfortable. Andre Cisco already playing so well. I'm so curious to see where he's at week 10, week 12, if he keeps this progression up.
Yeah, Tyson Campbell, another Bulldog, I believe. Forgot about him. So Ashlyn Sullivan here, so kind enough to join us. Ashlyn, you got some love in the chat room. They love your work. What can people find over at Jaguars.com? What do you got on the horizon this week?
Yeah, that's what we'll say. This week's a little slow. We're actually not working Thursday and Friday. They'll keep the team here, and we will go home and get ready for this hurricane. But we will be back on Jaguars.com on Saturday and Sunday for all this game coverage. And man, we're excited. We're fired up for this game. We have a ton of Jaguars fans coming. All of a sudden, everyone wants tickets to this game. They weren't calling 2 weeks ago. Now they're calling. So this is, at least from Jacksonville's viewpoint, this is a very big game and a very true test of where this Jaguars team is right now.
Outstanding. Well, if you need any food recommendations while you're in town, don't hesitate to reach out. And I do believe you are a Florida Gator alumni, correct?
Yes, loud and proud, yes.
I know you're very busy these days. Have you kept kept up with the team at all? Because there's a quarterback down there by the name of Anthony Richardson that is on the NFL radar. Can you tell us anything that you know about that young man?
Oh my gosh. So I went to the first game. I went to the Utah game. We had the day off and I made the drive to Gainesville. Gainesville's only an hour away from Jacksonville. So I love that. And that was lights out. The Gators were phenomenal. And then all of a sudden I hear, College Game Day and ESPN singing the praises of how Anthony Richardson is a locked #1 pick and the Gators are going to the playoffs and college football. And I just thought it was a little too soon. And then sure enough, we saw that it was a little too soon. This team has some building to do under new coach Billy Napier, but I think they have the right coach, which is huge. They have the right quarterback. I just think he needs more reps. But I think brighter days are ahead for the Gators, which is always a good thing.
Yeah, he flashes a lot of potential there.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of putting it together, much like Jalen Hurts and Trevor Lawrence had to do.
So, young guys that just need reps. Yep.
Yeah, Ashlyn, again, I can't thank you enough. This was an enlightening conversation. Maybe when the Jaguars are down in the playoffs, we can have you back in the winter time. But in the meantime, please do buckle up, stay safe, safe travels to Philly. We hope for nothing but the best. And thanks again for hopping on the football.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Talk soon.
All right.